Every man knows the sting of being overlooked. You put in the effort, you check every box, but she still doesn't pick you. And worse, she chooses someone who seems to offer less. That sting is more than rejection. It's the slow erosion of your confidence, your time, your self-worth. But here's what no one tells you. She's not choosing randomly, and she's not lying when she says you're a good guy. She's following instincts carved into her biology. Instincts that determine who gets chosen and who gets ignored. Stay with me, because once you see the hidden code she's following, you'll never look at rejection the same way again. Before we dive deeper, let's make this interactive. If you've ever felt overlooked by women, hit subscribe, give this video a like, and let me know in the comments, yes or no, have you experienced it yourself? Don't hold back. Because in just a moment, I'm going to break down an experiment that exposes exactly why this happens. And it's not the reason most men think. Imagine this. A beautiful woman walks across a college campus and approaches random men. She looks them in the eye and asks, "Would you like to be close with me tonight?" Out of every 4 men she asks, 3 say yes immediately. No hesitation, no questions, just yes. Now flip the script. A handsome man approaches random women with the exact same invitation. This time, not a single woman agrees. 0. Think about that for a second. Same question, same setting, same level of attractiveness, but 2 completely opposite results. At first glance, it feels unfair. Men see this and think, wait, so women can have intimacy anytime they want, but for us it's like winning the lottery? It stings because it confirms what so many men already feel in the dating world. Invisible, overlooked, rejected for no clear reason. But you have to understand this. Safety plays a massive role. For a woman, saying yes to a stranger isn't just about attraction. It's about risk. Accepting intimacy from someone she doesn't know could expose her to danger. That instinctive safety filter has been shaped by both evolution and culture. And when you combine that with biology's natural selectiveness, you get the 0% result we just saw. So no, this isn't just about morality, culture, or upbringing. This is about millions of years of evolutionary programming layered with survival instincts. You're not being rejected because you're not good enough as a person. You're being rejected because you walked into a game where the rules are different for men and women. And here's the painful reality. Most men don't even know those rules exist. Most men grow up believing evolution is about survival. The strongest, the fastest, the smartest making it to the finish line. And while that's true, it's only half the story. There's another force at play, just as powerful, and in many ways more brutal: attraction. Survival keeps you alive. Attraction decides if your genes move forward or vanish forever. Here's where the paradox kicks in. Some of the very traits that help you survive actually hurt you in the game of attraction. And some of the traits that put your survival at risk make you magnetic to women. Think about it. Why do men throw themselves into dangerous sports? Why risk everything on a business venture that could ruin you? Why chase status even when it comes with pressure, enemies, and sleepless nights? From a survival standpoint, it makes 0 sense. From an attraction standpoint, it's genius. Because to her subconscious mind, these risks signal strength, courage, and genetic quality. This is why a man who plays safe, never takes risks, and always colors inside the lines often fades into the background. Meanwhile, the man who pushes boundaries, even recklessly, stands out. She's not consciously thinking, "This guy might die climbing cliffs, so I want him." What her instincts register is, "This man has enough strength and courage to face danger. That means he can protect me and give strong genes to my children." It's brutal, but it's reality. Survival makes you safe. Attraction makes you chosen. And if you don't learn the difference, you'll keep surviving quietly while someone else gets picked. Picture two stags in the wild, antlers locked, fighting for dominance. The winner walks away with access to the females. The loser limps away forgotten. That's not just nature, it's a mirror of the male world you live in today. You may not lock antlers, but make no mistake, every man you see is your competition. The battleground has changed. It's not just fists and physical power anymore. Today, it's money, career status, influence, creativity, even social presence. Men compete on every possible field: business, athletics, leadership, artistry, because deep down, we're still playing the same game. Outperform the other men, and you win attention. Fall behind, and you disappear from her radar. Here's the part most men hate to admit. Women are watching this competition constantly. When she evaluates you, she's not only looking at you in isolation, she's watching how other men treat you, respect you, or ignore you. She's noticing whether you stand out or blend in, whether other men fear you, follow you, or dismiss you. And based on that, she decides if you're worth her choice. It's brutal because it means your value isn't decided in private. It's on public display, in the social arena every single day. You're being measured against other men, whether you like it or not. That subtle glance she gives when another man walks into the room. That's her brain comparing. That's her instinct running the numbers. And if you're not ready to compete, you've already lost. Here's a truth most men don't want to hear. No matter how much you want intimacy, no matter how ready you are to say yes, she's the one who decides. You can compete, signal value, and put yourself in position. But at the end of the day, women hold the gate. They are the selectors. Think back to that campus experiment. Men said yes without hesitation. But women, they didn't just hesitate. They flat out refused. That isn't random. It's because nature gave women the power to choose. And with that power comes an instinctive filter that never really turns off. Every time she looks at you, she's running calculations. Are you safe? Are you strong? Can you provide? Can you compete with the men around you? And if the answer isn't good enough, she won't just say no. She won't even acknowledge you. This frustrates men because it feels unfair. Why does she get to decide? Why can't men have the same authority? The answer is simple. Biology gave women higher costs for making the wrong choice. So nature gave them the control. This doesn't mean women are malicious. They're not rejecting you out of cruelty. They're rejecting to protect themselves. But here's the part that stings. In her world, you're either chosen or you're invisible. There is no in-between. And once you accept that she is the gatekeeper, you stop wasting energy being bitter and start focusing on what actually matters, becoming the kind of man who gets let through the gate. If you really want to understand why women are so selective, you need to face one brutal fact. The cost of choosing wrong is not the same for men and women. For a man, creating a child takes one act and a few seconds. For a woman, it's 9 months of carrying a pregnancy, giving birth, and years of responsibility that follow. That difference is the foundation of female psychology. Think about what those 9 months mean. Vulnerability, physical risk, hormonal chaos. Historically, childbirth was one of the leading causes of female death. Afterward came nursing, loss of mobility, loss of freedom, depletion of energy. Now imagine going through all of that alone, with the wrong man, with no support or protection. That mistake could have been catastrophic for her survival and the survival of her child. So women evolved to become extremely careful about who they allow in. They developed instincts that scan for danger, unreliability, and weakness. Their brains are constantly filtering for qualities that minimize risk and maximize safety. That's why they don't lower their standards just to have fun. Even for short-term connections, the evaluation system never shuts down. Because from her perspective, every choice could lead to life-altering consequences. This is why men often misinterpret women's selectiveness as arrogance or coldness. It's not arrogance, it's protection. It's a shield built over millions of years to avoid catastrophic mistakes. And here's where most men fail. They take her rejection personally, as if it's about their worth as human beings. In reality, it's her biology doing its job. Once you grasp that, you stop begging for acceptance and start proving you're worth the investment. Most men assume women relax their standards when it comes to something casual. The logic goes, if she's not looking for commitment, she should be easier to get. But here's the shocker. Women barely lower the bar at all. Meanwhile, men practically throw the bar on the ground. In long-term relationships, both sexes are selective. Men want loyalty, intelligence, compatibility, and beauty. Women want stability, strength, reliability, and attraction. The standards look roughly balanced. But watch what happens when the context shifts to something short-term. Men's standards collapse. A woman doesn't need to be smart, stable, or even particularly compatible. She just needs to be available. For women, the opposite is true. Even for one night, she still scans for intelligence, character, stability, and strength. She can't disconnect attraction from overall mate value. Research proves it. When approached for a date, about half of women said yes. When invited to an apartment, the number dropped to 6%. When directly asked for intimacy, 0. Meanwhile, men agreed 50% of the time to a date, 69% to an apartment, and 75% to intimacy. That's not social conditioning, that's biology. Here's the cold reality. Her standards never switch off. She treats every potential encounter as a possible father of her children, even if she has no intention of having children with you. That's why women seem complicated. They're not playing games. They're following programming that never lets them separate fun from survival. And if you don't understand that, you'll keep asking why she says no, when the truth is she can't afford to say yes to the wrong man. Here's the dilemma every woman faces, whether she admits it or not. The men who light her up with attraction are often the least reliable, while the men who are stable and willing to invest are often less exciting. Evolution split the male pool into two categories, and women are caught in the middle. On one side, you've got the men who scream genetic quality. They're confident, risk-taking, socially dominant, physically appealing, often unpredictable. They radiate the kind of traits that signal strong DNA and high testosterone. But those same traits usually come packaged with low commitment, wandering eyes, and the tendency to disappear when responsibility calls. These are the men women crave in the moment, but hesitate to trust in the long run. On the other side, you've got the providers, men who are stable, reliable, financially secure, emotionally available. They're the kind of men who stick around, build families, and offer consistency. But here's the sting. These men are often perceived as less exciting, less magnetic, and sometimes even invisible in the short-term dating arena. This clash creates what researchers call a dual strategy. Women sometimes chase one type of man for thrill and attraction while reserving another type for long-term security. And most men? They find themselves trapped in one camp or the other, wondering why they either get attention but no commitment, or commitment without real desire. The rarest men are those who balance both, who embody strength and attraction while also signaling stability and investment. And because they're rare, they're the ones women fight hardest to keep. If you've ever wondered why the same woman can be drawn to one type of man one week and a completely different type the next, the answer is buried in her biology. Women's preferences aren't fixed. They shift with her hormonal cycle, sometimes in ways she herself doesn't fully understand. During ovulation, the peak of fertility, her body unconsciously prioritizes genetic quality. She becomes more sensitive to masculine features, dominant behavior, and confidence. She's more likely to be drawn to the bad boy type. Bold, unpredictable, physically appealing, even a little reckless. It's not a conscious choice. It's her biology looking for strong DNA. But move outside of that fertile window, and the dial flips. Suddenly, commitment, stability, and emotional availability rise in importance. She's more drawn to the provider type. Dependable, nurturing, steady. The very same woman who felt magnetic pull toward the wild risk-taker last week may now prefer the grounded, reliable man who makes her feel secure. This constant shift creates what men often interpret as inconsistency or confusion. One day, she craves the thrill, the next, she craves safety. But it isn't indecisiveness. It's a survival system that's been fine-tuned for millennia. Her instincts are literally adjusting her attraction radar, depending on what her body needs most in that moment. Strong genes or stable investment. And here's the painful lesson. You can be the same man, unchanged, yet her interest in you can rise or fall overnight, not because of you, but because her biology flipped the switch. If you don't understand this, you'll keep misreading her signals, thinking she's confused, when in reality, she's just following ancient programming. Here's something men rarely notice. Women don't just evaluate you in isolation. They evaluate you through the eyes of other women. This is called social proof, and it's one of the most powerful forces in female psychology. If other women find you desirable, her brain assumes you must have qualities worth having. If no woman shows you attention, she assumes there's probably a reason. This is why men who are already in relationships often report suddenly getting more attention from women. It's not coincidence, it's validation. Other women have already tested him, which lowers her risk of making a bad choice. It's a subconscious form of crowdsourced approval. Now, add another layer, the dark side of attraction. Traits like narcissism, manipulation, and emotional detachment, the so-called dark triad. These qualities signal dominance, fearlessness, and self-centered confidence. To a woman's instincts, they hint at strong competitive genes. That's why such men often pull strong initial attraction. The catch? Those same traits make them unreliable, unfaithful, and toxic in long-term partnerships. This is the paradox women wrestle with. The men who ignite their instincts often fail them emotionally, while the men who would never betray them often don't trigger the same primal fire. It's not logic. It's biology clashing with survival needs. Here's the cold takeaway. If you think women only judge you based on how you treat them, you're wrong. They're watching how the world responds to you, how other women react to you, and whether your presence signals dominance or invisibility. You're never evaluated alone, you're evaluated in context. For most of human history, women chose from the men in their tribe or community. Options were limited, competition was local, and standards were shaped by immediate survival. But modern culture and technology have rewritten the rules, and not in men's favor. Today, women are told by culture that intimacy is empowerment, that independence should come before relationships, and that judging men by looks or resources is shallow. Yet biology hasn't changed. Deep inside, she still feels that every choice carries risk. That clash between cultural messages and biological instincts creates confusion, not just for her, but for every man trying to read her signals. Then comes technology. Dating apps put hundreds of men in her pocket with a single swipe. Social media floods her with constant reminders of status, lifestyle, and competition. Instead of meeting 10 men in her town, she now has virtual access to thousands worldwide. And what does abundance do? It raises standards. The more options she has, the more selective she becomes. This is why so many average men feel invisible today. You're not just competing with the guy next door. You're competing with men across the globe, filtered through the highlight reels of Instagram and the endless profiles of Tinder. And in that brutal marketplace, women can afford to be more ruthless than ever. The hard truth? Technology didn't change her biology. It just amplified it. It gave her the tools to act on instincts that were always there. And unless you understand this, you'll keep blaming modern women instead of realizing the game has always been the same. The arena just got bigger. Now you see the truth. She isn't rejecting you because she's cruel or because she wants to play games. She's rejecting you because her biology has been sculpted for millions of years to protect her, her children, and her future. That system doesn't care about fairness. It doesn't care about your feelings. It only cares about survival. And unless you understand that, you'll keep getting blindsided by choices that feel irrational but are, in fact, deeply logical. Men often waste years asking the wrong questions. Why does she pick him over me? Why do women chase the wrong guys? Why don't they value loyalty and kindness? But those questions only keep you stuck. The better question is, what signals am I showing? Am I communicating strength, health, and ambition? Or am I blending into the background while other men compete and win? Because here's the bottom line. Women aren't choosing randomly. They're scanning for strength, competence, resilience, and the ability to invest. If you don't show those signals, you'll stay invisible. If you do, you'll find that women respond in ways that suddenly make sense. And this isn't just about women. It's about becoming a man who commands respect everywhere. Among peers, in business, in your own life. The kind of man who doesn't beg to be chosen, but naturally becomes the choice. So stop complaining, stop resenting, start building. Build your body, build your competence, build your presence. Align yourself with what women are wired to respond to, and you won't have to chase, they'll notice you. She isn't picking him by accident. She's wired to. The only question is, are you wired to win? If you're ready to stop being confused, to finally see women with clarity, and to start developing into the man who doesn't get overlooked, then hit subscribe right now. Like this video, share it with a brother who needs to hear it, and drop a comment below about the moment in your life when you realized the game wasn't what you thought. This is where men wake up. Don't miss it.